What's going on, guys? So today we're going to put all this cluster of wires underneath the dash. Yep, we're going to be relocating the fuse box. Okay, so you're probably asking yourself this question: why in the hell do you want to move all of these wires inside? I mean, Nissan engineers are so great at it, they just put it right there and pretty much it's easy to access and all that, right? Wrong. They never knew that 240s were going to be pretty much the center of drifting and people were going to end up doing two front ends or wanting to clean up their engine bay. So what we're going to do is pretty much put all this inside, make it all neat. That way you can pretty much just see nothing but tubes. In my case, in your case, you might not have a tube front end, so you would be able to just see your wells. It's pretty much going to look all cleaner. It's going to be fishing all this out. It's going to start with the wiper motor connector. It's going to run under here through the well. You're going to have 4 connectors right here. One's going to be for the headlight motor, one's going to be for the actual headlight, one's going to be for your front blinker and your front or your side fender blinker. You're going to have a ground in this general area. You're going to have an HVAC temp sensor chilling right here on the center support. You're going to have another ground in this general area. 4 connectors, exact same thing on that side. It's going to come up, come under the well, and then it's going to go to your brake master cylinder. You're going to have 1 connector here, also followed by a ground. You're going to have a green unit chilling right here. You're going to have to disconnect that. And then you're going to pretty much feed it through that hole. Now, when you start feeding it, we're under the car now by the steering wheel. That's the hole that you're going to feed it from. You're going to have to remove these fuse blocks, this one and this one. It's going to be followed by 2 10mm bolts on this one, and the same thing on that one. You're going to have to remove those. That way you can fit the actual fuse boxes on the harness itself. Once you've done that, what I'm going to do is pretty much lay it on the ground. That way I can see the whole format of all the connectors and all the wires that I'm dealing with. Okay, so here it is now laying on the ground. Obviously you're going to have to take off the OEM wire loom that goes around all these wires. That way you can expose all the wires to see if they go to a relay or see if they go to a ground or constant power. This is the unit that I was talking about. So this one goes right under here. I honestly don't know what it is. So if you do know what that's for, go ahead and comment below. That way everybody else knows. I'm going to keep it there. It looks like a big connector. And I pretty much don't want to cut it off and then for it to be something important and everything else not to work. So here it is. What I'm going to do next is take this wire loom off. That way I know exactly where these connectors go to.
That boy is benihana.
These wire looms off. Like I said, there are 4 connectors for each corner or for each light. I'm gonna start off with the right side or the passenger side. So we have this connector, which is the headlight assembly or the actual light itself. You have this one, which is the motor. You have this one, which is the front fender blinker, and you have this one right here, which is the side fender blinker. Now we're gonna start off with the motor. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cables. This black one that comes off of this, if you follow it, it goes straight to this, which is the ground. So what I'm gonna do is cut it pretty much right here, and then from here I'm gonna wire it to ground somewhere up here. The last thing I want is a lot of resistance on the ground side and for my light to be dim. So I'm gonna pretty much cut this ground off right here. This one, the front fender blinker also has a ground. You see here there's 3 wires. If you follow the wire right here, it goes to the exact same ground. I'm gonna do the same thing on this one. Cut it close to the connector and then ground it up front. This one, the side fender blinker also has a ground. Same setup. If you follow it, it goes to the exact same ground, which is this one. Exact same thing. I'm gonna cut it, ground it somewhere up here. As far as the other wires, they all go to fuses. So I'm gonna leave these alone. I'm gonna cut them later and then extend them. You'll see that later in the video. The only one that does not have a ground would be this one, the actual light itself. These wires, they all go to fuses. So these will be later on cut when the harness is inside the car. But as of right now, what's gonna be cut right now would be the grounds. My grounds, they're cut and labeled. There's one. Here is the second one. This is the third one. Now as far as the cables that you cut off the ground splice, pretty much it's a good practice to shrink wrap them. That way you can avoid any shortage that could happen. I did one individually and then put one sleeve over all 3 of them. That way I know what this is later on in the future, and also to add more protection. So now we're gonna repeat the exact same process that we did right here on the left side or the driver's side headlight. Okay, so I got these all trimmed up of the wire loom. Exact same thing on these ones. Headlight assembly, exact same thing as the other one. There's no ground on this. These just go straight to power, fuses and or relays. These ones, for the motor, there is one ground and then the rest, one ground which is the black wire. And then these rest of the wires either go to relays and or fuses. You have this one which is a blinker. You have 3 wires. One of these go to this one goes to ground, and then these 2 go to power and or relays. This one is the front fender blinker, and then you have the side blinker, which pretty much just goes to power and ground. This goes to ground, which is this one, and then this one feeds up to the fuse box underneath the panel. So now what I have to do is do the exact same thing as the other one. Cut and label the grounds, and pretty much the ones that I cut off of here, shrink wrap them. Okay, so I have most of my connectors over here. The reason why I say most is because all but one connector I couldn't pull back that far enough with the rest of these right here. Reason being because this one, the headlight motor for the passenger side, you see this wire right here, it leads into this fuse box right here, and I don't want to cut it and extend it because I don't want to deal with any more problems than I am already. So I'm just going to leave this one here and extend it later on inside the car. But the rest, I got them right here. I got 7 connectors right here pulled back this far, and 1 connector pulled back that far. Most of these wires either go into this fuse box, and I can't pull them back far enough, such as this one, and then the rest pretty much go down there. So now pretty much is I gotta tape everything up and make this look pretty. the following day. Last night I got tired and pretty much ended where the previous video stopped at. So this is where I'm at now. I pretty much got all of my passenger side wires going up through here, and then it goes under here, and it follows it over through that hole. Then if we go on the outside, you can see it comes out through here, and then these would be pretty much chilling right here. Now the one for the motor, so this one I cut off. I labeled each connector. For instance, I have a number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and on this one, exact same thing, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That way the purple can go to a purple, the orange one can go to an orange one, the ground obviously goes to the ground, and then this one, the brown goes to a brown. So I have all those. I did extend the wiper motor, I'd say probably around 4 or 5 feet. That way it can reach all the way over here. The other one that I had to extend was the one for the headlight assembly. This one I pretty much only extended it a foot. So now all I have to extend is this one, and the rest two, the side blinker and the front blinker, I'm actually lucky enough to not have to extend anything on it. So the only ones on the passenger side you have to extend is the one for the motor, roughly around 4 or 5 feet, and the one for the actual headlight itself, that one you have to extend maybe a foot to a foot and a half. Alright, so I got all my 4 connectors that go in the passenger side corner, all wire loomed up and shrink wrapped. So this here's my headlight assembly, or the light connector, but this is my motor. This here is my front fender blinker and my side fender blinker. This is that ground that we cut off in the beginning, the second ground and the third ground. This one didn't have a ground, so what I'm gonna do is join this ground, this ground, this ground, somewhere in this general area, and ground it. Okay, so I have all these finished up. Oh my god, this side is just, it's fucking crazy. I mean, every single connector I had to extend at least 5 feet. It's just it's gonna be a pain in the ass when you do this side, but it was well worth it. I have all my connectors chilling right here, and now we pretty much have to put the dash in. And before we do that, there was 2 main grounds on the harness itself. One ground, I grounded it pretty much right under here, which is right there. And then the other ground, it goes off of this, one of the fuse boxes. And this one, where's it at? It's grounded over, so it's gonna be on this bracket right here, this nut, it's gonna be right there. And then I also grounded one coming off the fuse box right here. I still need one ground, which is the ground that was by the master cylinder. And this one, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna ground it right here as well. But let's get back to putting the dash on. And fingers crossed, hope everything works. I finally got my dash in. I got all my gauges wired up, all my fuses wired up. That's pretty much how it looks inside. This is 3 days after the last clip that you guys seen previously. I did fully weld my 2 front end in completely. I also got my brackets made and my headlights bolted up. I still got to do another radiator support for this side. Last night I wanted to drive it, so I pretty much just tacked this in place. That way I can actually go on the road. But I'm gonna ditch the welds, grind it down, and then bolt it through this tube, and then just weld the nut on the back. That way you can pretty much take these off whenever you need to take the radiator off. But I got these bolted up. I pretty much use square tubing coming straight off of this tube, and then straight into this fender support that I made. And then the 2 grounds that were on this side, I bolted them up. They're right here. And then I got my wires going in through here. They actually, so on this side, same exact thing, ground, but the wires, they go under through here. They're zip tied, and then they actually go into this brace right here and run underneath the fender. Obviously down, and then they go into that hole right there, and then inside the cabin. Now we'll head inside of the car, make sure everything works. And it's pretty much good to go. That's my side fender, blinker, and then the other one as well. I do have a light out on the driver's side on the front fender, so that's why it's blinking fast. Obviously the other side is good, but that's how it is. I was driving it last night, that's how I said, and the lights, they're a little bit too high, so I do have to adjust them. If you guys didn't know, the headlights have adjusting screws. There's one right here for the up and down movement, and then there's another one on the side, and that's side to side. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It was a pain in the ass, but it was well worth it. Obviously there's no fuse boxes anymore. They are all in the glove box. That's pretty much it. It does look dirty in here, or not professional, I guess you can say. But I mean, who the fuck's gonna be in your glove box? And yeah. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I highly appreciate the view. But until next time, guys, peace.